Hi, I'm Allison. I'm glad to be back again, and I hope that I can still make a contribution to the maker community just by dint of working with a wide variety of materials and doing weird stuff with them that most people don't have to do in a single field or interest. Today's episode is about circular glass elements, and I'll talk about things like where to find them, uh, shapes and uses, and the kinds of frames that you can make them look a little more finished with and help use to secure them, and a little bit about adhesives here as well. I hope to do deeper dives into adhesives and watch crystals specifically in later videos. For now, I'm going to start with uh, biconvex or double convex lenses, which you can see just means they poke out a bit on both sides. These are the kind that you would usually find in, Sherlock Holmes' classic magnifying glass. Uh, However, it can be kind of hard to get out of whatever is containing it. You can see a little bit, this is the top of a magnifying glass, but it's going to be, I won't be able to get it out of there without breaking the glass because there's like another nested ring holding the glass in there. So that can make things tough, but there are also things that are easy to get out, like that. It's better to be aware of what kind of structure you're trying to deal with before you buy something like it. Um, Another important thing to be aware of, especially in modern materials, is does it have a scratch-proof coating? Because once it has a scratch-proof coating, you're not adhering glass to anything. You're adhering a coating to something, and it just won't really work. It'll be even harder than adhering glass, which glass is already tough to deal with, and I'll get into that in a minute. Another thing to be aware of with biconvex lenses is the focal point. Focal point is basically just like at what point does a magnifying lens start magnifying, but not yet become blurry? Where can you still see the image clearly? And that is important to think about because you can't just plunk something down on top of material and expect it to be magnified in the way that a Plano-convex lens would do, which I'll talk about that in a second. This has to be at a little bit of a remove for it to work, which is great for anything in a recessed uh, box or area or whatever. But for flat materials, if you want to magnify them, you need a Plano-convex lens, which a lot of people will know them as a cabochon. And that just means flat on one side, curved on the other side, and whatever is underneath it will kind of pop up in a dome-looking form. There are larger kinds. This is not really a cabochon. This is, I would guess it's from a dome reader, which is just a reading aid that a person can slide over text to magnify it. So the next kind of element I want to talk to is just the three-dimensional. Like if you want a little bit of space, but a little bit of protection or something like that, you can get a petri dish. They're pretty cheap on Amazon, and they're fun. I don't use them a lot, but I have some ideas for them. There's also little domes like this, which I do like using. They're usually for DIY charms. That's where I find them. And they can be pretty expensive, but sometimes I'll find a lot of blank ones for jewelry and snatch it up for a pretty okay price. For other three-dimensional things, I find these really interesting, and really fun. They're plastic, which I don't really like. Um, but they're pinback buttons, which you can fill in yourself. Uh, so, like, here's the back. And you can see there are some imperfections there that are probably from the manufacturing process. And the little pin there is held under plastic things attached to the base. So you have to be a little careful about what you can and can't conceal there if you don't want it to show. But I had a little kind of event where I wanted something to sell that was small and cheap and quick. So I got these and just put random flat, interesting ephemera and stuff in them. And, bang, they were pretty good. Oh, that's upside down. You can't see from this material, but the lens is a little bit magnifying even. So it has kind of a cabochon effect. It's very, very mild. The last kind of element that I'm going to talk about is watch crystals, because they're super fun and pretty widely used, but also a little bit tricky, especially if you want to put a bezel over them. Or to find a particular size. And the measurements that determine what size they are is something I do want to go over in a later video. But basically, they're pre-metric measurements that were originally French, but then French Revolution happened, and it became more important to be able to trade outside of France and have more international units of measurement. Um, but the watchmakers did not like that, so they didn't do it. And now this is kind of this would be more of a lady's wristwatch size. So if you see a eBay lot that says ladies' wristwatches, you're looking more at this size. Men's wristwatches, closer to that. Pocket watches, the most common pocket watch sizes are, um, that doesn't show very well on the camera, but they're more like 17 to 19, and then this is pretty comically large almost for a pocket watch, but it's a 28. On to frames. There are a bunch of different sources, but of course the main one is like just weird, interesting, random stuff. There are things that you can get if you want something quick and the right size, which is like clock bezels will often even come with glass in them, and can be used to put like larger magnifying lenses in. So that's always fun. Old picture frames. Oh, I hate that. Old picture frames uh, have an interesting look to them, and sometimes like this, they have kind of a convex look to the glass in them. So this is, take the little watch movement here. It's not flat, but I can just tuck it under there, and that's nice. Um, this I pried off of a coaster, and it is silver, and it's just from a thrift market or thrift store. It took a lot of prying. I should have been wearing work gloves more often to do that, but they look great now. And this is less thought of item. It's from a light fixture, so it would just be like, on the wall, hiding the place where the bulb joined the ceiling, and just like random hardware that you can go through the hardware shop and see. That's probably from like behind a doorknob or something, but it's always fun and kind of embarrassing to go through a hardware store just looking for specific shapes rather than specific objects. I get good and bad reception for that. Uh, some people think it's funny and like, oh, we're on a scavenger hunt. Some people are like, oh my god, who is this woman? Why is she here? Why am I here? Why is anyone here? Um, so that's fun. And I think next I'm going to talk about the adhesives that I would use to deal with this sometimes, or adhesives that people often use to deal with these, and maybe they shouldn't. Um, to start with, the Nano 470 is really interesting. It uses a similar mechanism to UV light curing adhesives for glass, but it also cures in white light, which is a lot safer. And I've used it with good results before, but it's been a while since I've used it, so I'd like to do another set of tests, and I think that could be a neat video too. GS Hypo Cement, I want to mention just because it was originally made for watch crystals and fastening them into watch bezels, as far as I can ascertain. Um, yeah, so it's made for GS watch crystals, and that's one of the reasons it has this needle applicator pictured there. So it's very useful in some ways. I don't find it a very good adhesive on its own. I know it's popular in like jewelry and stuff. Uh, I just never had that much success with it, but I like it as reinforcement. So lastly, E6800, good for some things, especially light work and work that will be exposed to sunlight, because it is UV resistant. I wouldn't use E6000 with glass because it's not UV resistant. And glass is transparent, so that probably won't work very well for most cases. Uh, However, this and this are great for, especially E6800 is great for fastening down a lens with a bezel, because once you have a lens that is not, let's find something here, that's not, once you find a lens that's being held in place by something you can glue down, a lot of problems disappear. So like if you look at this, I'm not gluing the glass edge to anything. I'm gluing the metal edge of the bezel to something, and the actual glass is held down quite tightly, even so. That works out. I think that's it. Thanks. Bye.